Hi everyone, welcome to Gingerbread Making with me, Michelle Wilding from Boozy Bakers. So I'm going to wait for a minute just to let people log on before we start. But it's a nice recipe, this one. There's a bit of heating on the pan, but overall it's a really nice, easy recipe. And I don't think it's got too many ingredients, which is good too. And it smells of Christmas. It's the most festive thing I think you could make other than a fruitcake. If you're joining me today, whether you're baking along with me or just watching and doing it a bit later, do say hi. Tell me where you're from in the country. Have you got snow? And just feel free to type questions. And I will go to comments now because I just realised I am in private chat. There we go. Do say hello. Do ask questions. I love talking to you guys as we do this. Feel free. Hi, Irene. Rain for you. Oh, it looks dark here. It looks like it's about 6 p.m. already, but here in Hampshire. Hi, Janet. Morning from Leicester. Oh, yeah, I'm a Leicestershire girl at heart, but yes, down in the south for a while now. Right, so let's make a start. Let's have a cup of coffee. Hope everyone's got a drink with them. Right, I've got my trusty little stove here because the first thing we're going to do is we're going to melt the butter and the sugar and the syrup together. Oh, how have we got here? Oh, there we go. It's all right, just checking the messages. So, we're going to heat up a few things, make the dough, and then I'm true Blue Peter style. I have made some biscuits so that you can kind of see what you're looking for, but we'll roll it out. I'll roll it out. I'll show you the kind of thickness. I'll give you the temperatures for the oven, and then I'll do a bit of decorating just to give you some ideas, really. So let's get started with a bit of heat. Now, this is notoriously slow. It would be much better if I was working on my hob, but I did not install a hob on my island, so we'll go with this. Let's turn it up. There we go. We'll see how long that takes. But what you're going to need in your pan is 100 grams of butter. Now, you can use salted butter, you can use unsalted butter. If you want to make it dairy-free, I've got one in here, actually. If you want to make it dairy-free, then you want to use something like this, a baking block. Don't use margarine because it's just too soft. It's not going to solidify in the same way because you want to chill these so that they keep their shape. So if you've ever made them before and you haven't had success but you use margarine, that's probably why. So if you want to make these dairy-free, they're already egg-free. So if you're vegan, I think if we take the butter out, you could actually make these vegan as well. So yeah, I've used 100 of butter, but if you want to make them dairy-free, use a block. I'll just put that to the side. Right, so that's 100 grams of butter that's gone into that. And then I've got 100 of brown butter. Oh, you're welcome, Irene. It's always good where I can to give you variations. So I've got 100 grams of brown sugar here. This is dark brown sugar. Now, I'm a big believer that if you've got something in your cupboard you can use, then use what you got. So if you've got a muscovado, use that. And to be honest, it would work with a light brown, but dark brown, you've got the depth of color as well as the taste. So 100 grams of dark brown sugar into that. Right, and then golden syrup. Now I'm going to tell you a way to really be able to use golden syrup without making a mess. And then I'm not going to follow it because I'm not that prepared. My mum told me this. Sorry, sore throat at the ready. I'm just fighting it off at the moment. So it's 3 tablespoons of golden syrup. Now, I'm going to do is it's going to stick to my spoon. But if you're sensible, like my mother, if you put hot water, if you get a kettle of hot water and you just pour it over the spoon to heat it up, it then all just slides off your spoon and you don't have the same mess. Sorry, Mum, I'm not as organised today, so I'm going to be the messy one. But I've got 1. Oops. 2. And we'll do a 3rd. There we go. So if that was heated up, if the spoon was heated up, that would have just slid off and there would be none of this messing around. And there would be no wastage on the spoon. There. I guess the same with black treacle as well, anything like that. Sorry, clunking around. So we need to heat that now. This could take a bit longer than on my pan on the hob, but let's have a go. You might just do the opposite and go really hot very quickly. But I'm just going to stir that up. So I'll twist it so you can see. There you go. So you want to melt that down. So just, you don't need it bubbling or anything. We just want it all melted and combined together. So you have to give me a moment. I will try and turn this up and see if we can get it going. So I don't know how adventurous you want to be on these. I've done some various cutout shapes, but I have heard of really easy to make gingerbread houses that just need a square cutter. So it'll be interesting when you've done these, share your designs. It'll be really good to see them and what you make. They also, you can make them with holes in them or do a star which is hollow with use another star shape, and you can make them as Christmas tree decorations. So they're very versatile biscuits. Right. It's a bit like Santa's workshop in the kitchen at the moment, because we're making lots and lots and lots of different cookies and cakes and iced biscuits and marshmallows and all these lovely treats for Christmas. So yeah, it's busy. It's really busy. So we've been doing some nice events. So no, it's been good. Right. This is melting, so we're getting somewhere. I'll just give that a minute longer. And then what you're going to need, which I actually haven't got in front of me, is a bowl. Bear with me, guys. Oh my goodness. I thought I was organised. I went through everything. Hi, Trisha, from Shiner, is it? Yeah, sorry, forgot my bowl. So, if you're doing this, I don't want to move on to the next step really until we have a completed sauce, because I don't want to take the eye off it and it goes, and it, because if you're on a nice hob, you might be done already. I've got a bit longer. If I'd broken the butter up a bit more, it might have been a bit quicker, but it's getting there. Just quickly, just give that a stir. I'm breaking up the butter a little bit just to melt it in. There we go. I've got some heat in this now. That's nearly ready. I think the smell of the golden syrup and the brown sugar. It's always tasting, smelling really good. Right. Almost there, guys. Is anyone actually baking along this morning, or are you waiting for later? I will let you know now that there is a period of putting it into the fridge to chill down. So if you are baking along, there is a chill down period. So if you're at home, it gives you time to do something else whilst it chills down for a bit. If you're off out, don't worry, you can chill for longer than that. Mandy, Hello, Max's mum. Can't really watch as I'm at Green Meadows today. Look forward to watching later. Oh, Mandy, hi. Yes, my son volunteers at Green Meadows. He's Duke of Edinburgh, and he enjoys it a lot. So I'm glad you're looking. Maybe we'll have to do a bake along at Green Meadows. Maybe we'll bring in the gingerbread. I'll get Max to bring it in. Right. I think we're about there. So you should have, as I said, it's not, sorry, I'm going to be headless for a minute whilst I show you. But it's melted. I'm not looking for anything bubbling, just melted. That's all we need. So I'm going to turn that off, I think. There we go. And I'm just going to put that on the other side just because it won't stop heating otherwise. It's not that technical. And I'm going to spin this just so you can see what I'm doing next. There. Okay. If I spin that round, you can really see what I'm doing next. So I have a nice large bowl here so you can see what I'm doing. That's a lovely native place to live, isn't it? I know, yes. Right, so into the bowl, I'm going to place my plain flour. So that is 225 grams of plain flour. Now, I was thinking if you could make this gluten-free, and to be honest, I can't see why not. It may change the texture a little bit, but I think you'd be good because you've got the consistency should be all right because you've got a lot of the sugars in there. But this is 225 grams of plain flour. So I'm popping that in. And then to that, so you're going to see like the ginormous things I have to work with. I need half a teaspoon of bicarbonate. Now, you won't have something this big, I doubt, but we use a lot of raising agents. So I'm putting half a teaspoon of bicarbonate into the mixture there. And then we're on to our spices. So you want to get a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Again, a huge thing of ground cinnamon here. Right. I think I might just shake it onto my spoon here. Let's see how that goes. There we go. Bit in the bowl, bit on the spoon. Ground cinnamon. And then quite a lot of the ginger. So I've got 225 grams of the flour, plain flour, and then half a teaspoon of bicarbonate. And then I put on the list 2 to 3 teaspoons of ground ginger. That equates to like 1 large tablespoon. If you want it to be more gingery, then you could. Janet's asked, could I just use self-raising flour? Yeah, you can. Bicarbonate is a bit different. Rather than having self-raising, I think it's more baking powder. Bicarbonate's a bit stronger. So I would advise, sorry, something just popped up on my screen so I can't see you. I would advise you do use plain flour, but if you only have self-raising, give it a go. I can't see it being a problem. I think it might just try to rise a little bit. But I'll go with that. Let me know how you get on. Right. I'm going to, as I said, I've said 2 to 3 teaspoons of flour. Sorry, I'm going to use the end of this because it's all got a bit stuck. Sorry, 2 to 3 teaspoons of ginger, which equates to about 1 tablespoon. If you want it to be more gingery, feel free to put a bit more in. If you like it lighter, then put a bit less in. Hang on. It's really stuck, this stuff. There we go. I do like my ginger quite a bit. So there we go. One of those in. And then I'm going to mix all that up. Like so. There. So you just want to combine it really before we put the liquid in. There we are. And then my liquid, I'm just going to pour onto the flour mixture. Now, you can use a wooden spoon to do this. I use a silicone spatula a lot because I can scrape out the pan or the bowl quite well with a silicone spatula. I find it quite a versatile piece of equipment. So if you're looking for new equipment and you haven't got one, good one for your Christmas list. So, and then I'm just going to combine that. And you're looking for a nice ball of dough. If it is too floury, you could put a little bit of milk, just a teaspoon, to a couple of teaspoons of milk into it. But do bear with it because I did the exact same mixture last night, so I could make some. Here's some I made earlier for you, and it worked really nicely. So do put a bit of elbow grease into it, and remember it could be a bit hot at this stage. So either if you're going to put your hands in, you need to let it just cool for a minute because you've just warmed up all that sugar, which is the reason why you don't want to put it onto a really high heat. You don't want it bubbling because you're going to be touching it potentially, and we don't want anyone getting burnt. So that's actually not too hot at all. As I said, I had it on quite a low heat, and we only just melted it. So this is fine to touch, but just be careful with that. If you use self-raising flour, they are puffier and tend to be softer centers. Still very nice, but not as clean cut. Yeah, that's exactly it. I think I've tried it with self-raising before, and that's exactly what happened. They almost look a bit more rounded. They don't have that kind of sharpness and flatness, but and slightly different texture, but you still do it. Right. There we go. There we go. A bit of flour in there, so I'm just kind of pushing it together because I can just see some bits of flour, but we're about there. So I should be able to pick. Yeah, it's nice and cold because it wasn't a really hot mixture in the pan. So there you go, guys. That's the kind of dough. If I show you the consistency, I'm putting my hand on it and it's not coming away. It's got a greasiness from the butter, but it's not sticking. So that's what you're looking for. Now, what we're going to do is, there's other ways to do this, but I really love this. So you could, and I've put it in the list, you could put that ball of dough and cling film it and put it in the fridge for an hour to chill before you roll it out. However, I do like little shortcuts. I love a shortcut. So what I do, and with any biscuit dough, this is quite good, and pastry, I like doing this with pastry as well, is I get 2 bits of parchment paper, like so. You can use baking paper as well, I like my parchment. So I've got 2 bits there, about the same size. What I'm going to do, we're almost leaving up here, is I'm going to get the dough and place it on my parchment. Now I'm just going to bring this down a bit so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. So dough on the parchment and then another layer of parchment on top. Whoops. And then get your rolling pin and roll over the parchment. So you're starting to flatten your dough. Now, the reason I do this is, A, it's not as messy. It can't stick. You're not adding extra flour to your mixture by putting it onto a floured surface. It's really good if you've got kids doing this. I just think it's kind of nice, peace of mind to not have too much to tidy up. But I just like the simplicity. Also, when you want to chill it, rather than chilling it in a ball, so it's not going to chill down so much, this is kind of, we're getting it ready to cut out and go. You can re-ball it, re-roll it after that time and it will be chilled nicely. But we can put it straight on the baking tray and into the fridge and then just cut out from there. So I quite like that. Depth, you want about 0.5 centimetre, ideally. So what's that? Probably a couple of pound coins put together. I don't know. I'm not. It's not too much. 5 millimeters. So let me just see where we are with that. So I just lift it off, and I can see that's pretty good. It's probably a bit thicker this end. So I'll bring it up to the camera if I can. Bear with me. So I just put that back on and roll it down a bit. There we go. And let me show you. Put my hand underneath it. Can you see? It's not that thick. It's really not that thick at all. But you know, there's a bit. Now I've torn that because I was silly and brought it up at an angle, but it's fine. It's fine. I will just push that together. Just do a slight roll over that. It's a very forgiving dough. You can't you can't overhandle it too much. So if I wanted to ball it up again and start again, as I said, when you cut it out, you'll end up with offcuts, and then you can ball those up again. It's quite forgiving. And again, if you're doing this with children, it's not such a problem. Some doughs, they don't like being touched. It's a bit like pastry as well, isn't it? You shouldn't over touch that. So there we go. That's all I need to do to the pastry. And then I can put that onto a tray, like so. And then I can put that into the fridge. You want at least an hour in the fridge. You can leave it overnight. I did. I made it last night and I thought, yeah, that's fine. I'll leave it overnight. And then I will get it out in the morning, cut it out and make some samples so I can show you. Overnight is fine, except I couldn't get the cutter to go through it this morning. It took some real effort. So just be aware that if you leave it a bit longer, you're going to have to put some muscle power into the cutters. Or maybe I'm just a worse. Right, so if you're doing this, this is the time that you put that in the fridge. And you give it an hour. Right, after that hour, I'm going to pull you a bit closer like we're talking secrets. There we go. After an hour, you can bake it. Now, so you want to cut things out. Now, I used various cutters this morning. I had a Christmas, I kind of raided the box. So I've got a Christmas tree that I used. I've got gingerbread men, very traditional. But I also worked out, I saw someone do this, that if you turn it that way, we can actually make it into little reindeer ones. So I thought I'd show you how to do that in a minute. What else did I find? I found a snowflake, so that's always a nice one. Stars. And as I said, and I haven't actually done this yet, so this is one for me to do maybe with this dough, is if you get a square and you have to do a base each side, 2 for the roof, and then is it gable ends? You'd use one of these and cut it diagonally to create the 2 gable roofs, and you could make a little gingerbread house just with a square. So if you're feeling like a challenge, maybe that's the one to go for. But once you've cut them out, put them on the tray, give them a bit of space, just maybe 2 fingers in between. They shouldn't spread, but I still like to give things a bit of space. And cook them at 190 for conventional, 170 degrees Celsius for fan or gas mark 5, and give them between 10 and 12 minutes. Now, I said I'd do Blue Peterish. These had 12 minutes on them. So I'll show you what I did, because I think I'll have to hold these up. I did a giant gingerbread man, and I did smaller gingerbread men. They've had the same time, and they're both absolutely fine. You should be able to see from the thickness, they've kind of kept the same thickness. They haven't spread out. I haven't had to recut them or anything. I did a star. Now, as I said, I couldn't find a star cutter small enough, but if you have a small one that you could put inside of it, then you've got a hollowed out star. You could put a bit of ribbon around that, and I hang it from the tree. The Christmas tree, it's rather nice. and the snowflake, and they've all really nicely kept their shape. I'm awful at taking, that's the way around. They're really good at keeping their shapes. So when you bake them, so 10 to 12 minutes, they will smell good. You can see that they've got a slightly darker, if I bring it up, slightly darker around the edges. But 10 to 12 minutes will be fine. These had 12. And I used a fan oven at 170. And then leave them on the tray until they're cool enough to transfer to a rack. What you will find when you take them off the tray, if you're trying to work out if they're done and you feel them, they will feel soft. Most, if not all, biscuits will feel soft when you've taken them out of the oven. That's not a sign that they're not done. They need to cool. You're actually better off, if you're not sure, leave them on the side, let them cool, transfer them. If when they're cold, they're still soft, you could always put them back in for a few minutes, but they do firm up and go hard after they've cooled. So testing with them when they're warm, they're going to feel soft. Right, so we are now, sorry, someone's ringing me, there we go. To decorate, I've got 100 grams of icing sugar. And we're going to add just a little bit of water, not much. You really don't need much. The other thing to add to it, particularly if you're going to make a structure like a gingerbread house, is to not go with water and go for egg whites. Make sure it's pasteurized, but egg white will set harder than an icing sugar. So if you've bought a kit, like a gingerbread kit for a house, or if you're going to make your own, that would be my little bit of advice, is use egg white to set it. Egg white and icing sugar rather than water and icing sugar, just because of the firmness that it sets. So I've just put in 2 dessert spoons of water, and I'm going to mix that into my 100 grams of icing sugar. If I need more, I'll add it. But if you're not careful, if you put too much in, it's kind of this never-ending game of adding some more icing sugar and then some more water, and then you end up with this huge, huge amount. That is too thick, so I will add a bit more. Let's just go for that. There we go. And give it a mix. It is quite important to try and get it to mix thoroughly first, because you don't want this too thin. If it's too thin, it'll end up spilling off the sides of your gingerbread. So you do want it into quite a firm paste. I will show you my results in a minute. You can see I've got it into quite a ball at the moment. It's probably just on the slightly too thick, but I'm just giving it a minute just to pick up all the icing sugar, and then I will consider the texture. I think it's really thick at the moment, so I'm going to put the very little bit of water onto my spoon. There we go, and just mix that in. There you go. Just that wasn't a spoonful. That was such a tiny amount. And you can just see we've gone to like a thick paste now, but it's not too hard. It's not a ball of paste. And then to that, I'm going to just, I've got disposable piping bags. You might have a fabric one. You can make them using parchment paper and rolling it into a cone and cutting off the end. Or use a sandwich bag and just cut the tip off it. I've got like an IKEA one. If you pour the mixture in and then cut the corner off, you could pipe that way. So you don't need a piping bag. Just happen that we use them in a lot, so that's what we have. Now, if you have got a piping bag or you've got and bought some specially, what I do is I always roll the top over. You see my hands are underneath it. You could put it in a tumbler, like put it over a beer glass or a high top glass. And it just means that all this is safe from the icing. And we're going to fill that bit. But I just use my hands. So, and then I use my thumb, which is underneath, to be able to use like the rim of my thumb to pull the icing sugar off. There we go. Use the side of my thumb. I don't have a rim. I have a side of my thumb. There we go. So that's all in. Push that down. Now, if I've got kids doing this, or you're not used to doing this, it's always an idea. In fact, I've got pegs on top of a lot of mine. If I'm doing a lot of icing, put a peg or a sandwich clip at the top. Still hold it at the top, but it will just help to stop when you're applying pressure for the icing sugar to be coming back up. It'll just help you to have an extra bit. So I'm just going to trim the bottom. Now, you only want a small hole. Try and make it as small as you can. You can always cut a bit more off, but if it's too wide, you end up with really thick icing sugar coming out. So if I pull this down now, like so. So let's do a Christmas tree, and you should be able, see if I've cut this. Oh, it's really, really thin. Hang on. Cut it a bit more. So I'm going to go, I mean, you can do this however you like, but I'm just going to add kind of a trim to each of the pointed areas, like so. There we go. Now, if you want, you could get some other decorations out. Nice little mini Smarties or something would look quite nice on this. I do like just the brown and the white. I've got to say, I think it looks quite sweet. But feel free to make it your own. So if I bring that round, I think just a little bit of decoration makes that quite pretty. And then just need to leave that to set for a minute. Now, I said to you about making gingerbread into reindeers. I will show you what I saw. Now, I've been icing a lot of things, so I've got various colours. So if you have some food gels, you make the head, the nose. This is all from memory, so I hope I get it right. Make the head, the nose. These are the antlers, like so. There we go. Oh, you can see the concentration. I go quiet when I'm concentrating. And then eyes above that. The hands become the ears. And then bear with me, I have got some black. I mean, you could use chocolate buttons and things. And there's other ways to do it rather than having all the icing. But if you're big into decorating, you might enjoy this. There we go. I'll show you that. So that's an upside down gingerbread man turned into a reindeer. So you might enjoy doing that. It'll be interesting to see what you do make. Yeah, I'll just do a quick gingerbread man. But you can make these as difficult as you want or as simple as you want. I think they're quite effective with just the plain icing. I don't think they need a lot more. As I said, if you keep your piping, the nozzle size quite small, it's much easier to add little bits of detail without having to invest in lots of equipment or colours or anything really. And they're great fun to make. They will last a long time. I think you can keep it in a container, and I would have thought actually you could keep them for a couple of weeks in a sealed container if they last that long. They don't last that long in our house, but there you go, little gingerbread man there. Aren't they sweet? So yeah, if you have any questions, please do ask. But I hope you have a go because they are really fun. Now I've made 2, 4, 6, 7 here, and then I rolled up the rest of the dough, and I've probably got enough to make another 7. So if you don't want to make that much, you could wrap it up. You could freeze the dough, but it will last a while. So you could always do it. You know, you do some of it one day and then do some of it another. It's not a problem. But really do have fun making these. And then I'm back later in the month. They freeze well too without the icing. Yeah, they do. And then just bring them out, and you can always just warm them up a bit if you wanted to, if you wanted the smell in the house. But yeah, they are really good treats. You can make them now if you want to make them for Christmas. Maybe make them a bit later on, but just keep them in a sealed container, and they'll be good. I'm back with you later this month making a non-boozy cocktail for Christmas. So I do hope you can join me for that. But yeah, it's been really fun. I'm going to eat these now because they're too hard to resist. So no problem, Janet. It's been lovely to bake along with you. Any questions? And don't forget to post your pictures on the Virtual Village Hall site so we can see what's being made. It's really fun to do. So do in the comments, put your photos so we can all have a look and see what you make. I hope you have a lovely time. Thank you very much for joining me, everyone. Bye.